Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. And today I'm going to go my review of WCW's Halloween Havoc 1993. Starting off the evening, we're going to go to our first match of the night. It is a six-man tag team matchup. It is Ice Train, Charlie Norris, and the Shockmaster versus Equalizer and Harlem Heat. Number one, I thought this was an okay match to start Halloween Havoc 93. Back and forth matchup between both teams with Ice Train, Charlie Norris, and the Shockmaster keeping the pace of the match. Shockmaster ultimately applies a bear hug, and your winners of the match, due to submission, is Ice Train, Charlie Norris, and the Shockmaster. Hats off to the Ice Train, Charlie Norris, and the Shockmaster for getting the win in that matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is Paul Orndorff versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. I thought this was a good matchup. Back and forth matchup between Orndorff and Steamboat. Ricky lands multiple chops on Paul Orndorff in the corner of the ring. Ricky was keeping the pace of the match. Ricky then hits a crossbody on Orndorff in the middle of the ring. The Masked Assassin is ringside. He ends up distracting the referee. And then the Masked Assassin ultimately attacks Ricky, the Dragon Steamboat. He's knocked out on the outside. Referee ends up counting to 10. And your winner of the match due to count out is Paul Orndorff. Hats off to Paul Orndorff for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is for the WCW Television Championship. It is Steven Regal versus the British Bulldog. I thought this was a great match. Back and forth matchup between Regal and the Bulldog, with Regal keeping the pace of the match. Regal then hits a senton on Bulldog in the middle of the ring. Bulldog then hits a power slam on Regal for a near fall, but this match ultimately ends in a time limit draw. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is for the WCW United States Heavyweight Championship. It is Dustin Rhodes versus Stunning Steve Austin. I thought this was a good matchup as well. Back and forth matchup between Rhodes and Austin, with Rhodes keeping the pace of the match. Rhodes ultimately hits a roll-up on Austin, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match is the natural Dustin Rhodes. Hats off to Dustin Rhodes for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is for the WCW Tag Team Championships. It is the Nasty Boys versus Too Cold Scorpio and Marcus Bagwell. I thought this was a good matchup as well. Back and forth matchup between the Nasty Boys and Too Cold Scorpio and Bagwell, with Too Cold and Bagwell keeping the pace of the match. Too Cold Scorpio hits a 450 splash on Brian Knobbs. Jerry Sags then gets involved, hits Too Cold Scorpio with a boot. Brian Knobbs then goes for the cover, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match, and at that time, new WCW Tag Team Champions, are the Nasty Boys. Hats off to the Nasty Boys for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night as well. It is Sid Vicious versus Sting. I thought this was a good matchup. Back and forth matchup between Vicious and Sting, with Sting keeping the pace of the match. Vicious ends up hitting a devastating choke slam on Sting in the middle of the ring. Sid then hits a power slam on Sting, but Sting ultimately hits a roll-up on Sid Vicious, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match is Sting. Hats off to Sting for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is for the World Heavyweight Championship. It is Rick Rude versus Ric Flair. I thought this was a great match. Back and forth matchup between Rude and Flair, with Flair keeping the pace of the match. Flair lands multiple chops on Rude in the middle of the ring. Flair then applies a quick figure 4 leg lock on Rude, but Rude quickly breaks the hold. Flair then hits a Rude Awakening on Rude for a near fall. Flair then hits Rude with a foreign object. Referee Randy Anderson ends up seeing this, and your winner of the match due to disqualification is Rick Rude. Hats off to Rick Rude for getting the win in that matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is the main event of Halloween Havoc 1993. It is Vader versus Cactus Jack in a Texas death match. I thought this was a great matchup as well. Back and forth matchup between Vader and Jack, with Cactus Jack keeping the pace of the match. Cactus Jack then hits Vader with a chair shot. Vader then lands or unloads punches on Jack. Cactus Jack then hits a suplex out of the ring onto the ramp on Vader. Jack then hits a clothesline on Vader as well. Pins for the 3. Jack wins the first fall. Vader then gets up. Cactus Jack hits an elbow drop off the ramp that looked absolutely brutal. Pins Vader for the 3. Cactus Jack wins the second fall. Vader then gets back up. Vader then hits Cactus Jack with a devastating chair shot on the ramp. Vader then hits a moonsault off the top rope on Cactus Jack, pins him for the 3. Vader wins the 3rd fall. Vader then hits a DDT on a chair in the middle of the ring, pins for the 3. Vader then wins the 4th fall. Cactus Jack hits a DDT on the chair on Vader, but Harley Race then hits Cactus Jack with a stun gun, makes Cactus Jack unable to get up for the 10 count, and your winner of the match is Vader. A couple things I'm going to say about Halloween Havoc 1993, man, before I get out of here. This was a solid event. And honestly, I say this multiple times, man, about these WCW pay-per-views, but this was a really solid event. The opening matchup, Ice Train, Charlie Norris, and Shockmaster teaming up against Equalizer and Harlem Heat. It was an okay match at best. Charlie Norris, I don't know why they were hyping him up. Lackadaisical wrestler. Same thing with Ice Train. I mean, Ice Train, you could tell he was definitely still a rookie at this time. And it was just awful, man. And then having these 3 guys team up, including the Shockmaster, it was just brutal. Steven Regal versus British Bulldog for the WCW Television Championship was an awesome match, man. If you guys have the network or have Peacock, go back, you look up Halloween Havoc 1993 and watch this match, man. This match was poetry in motion, back and forth between Regal and the British Bulldog. And to be honest with you, there's some people that love the high-flying wrestling. I'm not saying I don't like it either, but this was pure mat wrestling between Regal and the British Bulldog. And to be honest with you, a lot of people probably think this match is boring, but I thought this match was awesome, man. They both gelled in the ring perfectly together. Both Regal and Bulldog had their special moments in that matchup. And to be honest with you, I wish we got a clear-cut winner in this matchup and not a time limit draw because, man, if these guys would have had an hour to wrestle in an Iron Man match for an hour, it would have been absolutely incredible, to be honest with you, man. British Bulldog, severely underrated, as well as Steven Regal. That match between Regal and Bulldog is probably my match of the night on this card, besides the main event, to be honest with you. Dustin Rhodes versus Steve Austin for the United States Heavyweight Championship. It was a solid match, man. And again, it goes hand in hand with Dustin Rhodes. He's severely underrated. Now, to me, I'm always going to be a fan of the natural Dustin Rhodes over Goldust and stuff like that. The natural Dustin Rhodes was awesome. I feel like, I kind of wish that when he went over to WWE, they kind of kept the natural gimmick when he went over to WWE and not, make him into Goldust. But I guess Goldust is good in his own right, multi-time Intercontinental Champion. But Dustin Rhodes versus Austin, solid match. Rick Rude versus Ric Flair. It was a great match. Absolutely great match for the World Heavyweight Championship. And to be quite honest, man, Rick Rude does not get a lot of credit where credit's due. He's one of the best Intercontinental Champions of all time. Now, credit, did he win the World Heavyweight Championship? Yeah. But could he have been multi-time World Champion? Absolutely. Absolutely. He had the gimmick. He was a great heel. Great athletic ability. It just didn't happen for him as far as being a multi-time world champion. Was he a world champion? Yes. Could he have been a multi-time world champion? Absolutely. But the match between Rude and Flair, it was a great little rivalry that they had in WCW back in the day, man. And to be honest with you, Rude and Flair kind of, they kind of worked off each other in that match, man. It made for a great match. And, this was Flair's kind of comeback streak in the WCW after taking some time off. So it was awesome, man. This was a great match. And obviously the main event, Vader versus Cactus Jack for the Texas Death Match, absolutely awesome. Vader and Cactus Jack are one of the biggest rivals in all of professional wrestling, man. They had phenomenal matches. I believe Vader actually took a piece of Cactus Jack's ear off with one of those devastating clotheslines that he lands on his opponents, man. So Vader and Cactus Jack have had phenomenal matches, whether it be in WCW or over in Japan. Absolutely incredible, man. It was a great main event. As far as a rating, though, for Halloween Havoc 1993, man, again, I was really back and forth on this one. There's a lot of Halloween Havocs out there. A lot that WCW produced. Especially when the Nitro era came around and stuff like that. They produced a lot of Halloween Havoc matches and memories and moments that will last a lifetime. So, to me, Halloween Havoc 1993, I'm going to have to give it a solid 5.5, if not 6, man. This was a solid event, in my opinion. Some people may disagree, some people may agree, but Halloween Havoc 1993, for me, is a solid 6, if not 6.5 at best. So, I'm going to have to give Halloween Havoc 1993 a solid 6.5 at best. But this is my review of WCW's Halloween Havoc 1993. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.